Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Mishal Saeed, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Lindsay Preston, the founder and CEO of Trust and Leadership Coaching, otherwise known as TLC, joining us. Lindsay brings over 20 years of coaching expertise, leading a boutique firm that's achieved a phenomenal success rate, and she's helping leaders across tech, finance, and healthcare align their personal and professional lives with authenticity. From her early days in corporate training to founding TLC, she's transforming leadership through trust and emotional intelligence. We'll explore her founding story, how TLC empowers driven leaders, and her vision for scaling this impactful platform. So let's dive in. Lindsay, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's kick things off for the listeners. Take us back to the beginning. What specific problem within the leadership or coaching landscape actually inspired you to start TLC from the beginning?
Yeah, so when I started TLC, it was under a different umbrella and it was basically a solopreneurship. I was working with women in life and then it evolved into leadership coaching and I kept seeing the same problem. Women were burning out in corporate environments and then they wanted to leave and start their own businesses, which is great and awesome. We need great businesses in the world. But I just kept seeing, what if we were able to go in and fix the heart of the problem because all these great leaders were leaving because of burnout? And so it wasn't necessarily the skills, it was just that they weren't supported in the right way. And then during this time, I was actually burning out as well. My coaching practice had grown to where it was at max capacity and it was everyone's dream to get to that place, and I couldn't sustain it. And so I went on this whole journey of health and wellness and really trying to understand how I can create sustainable growth and sustainable leadership.
Love that. Yeah, from what it sounds like, there's a personal connection to this, and that now that you are here today, you're really empowering a lot of women from what it sounds like with navigating a lot of those things that do happen. It's almost like that cycle that every woman in STEM or any sort of high engaging vertical almost endures. So let's get into the nuts and bolts for our listeners and even potential clients tuning in. Walk us through your core offerings, some of the services that TLC offers, and what's like your ideal customer profile, if you can share with the listeners who you'd like to work with as well.
Yeah, so we work with different levels of leadership, starting all the way from rising stars. So those who are in the space of likely the first few years of their careers and they want to be trained up to be leaders. So many times people are just promoted based off tenure or just on how they are as an individual contributor, and they actually need to be taught intentional leadership skills. People need to start thinking of leadership as a whole different skill set versus just how good they are at their jobs or how long they've been there or if they're ready for a promotion. And so again, we start with rising stars, then we work with emerging leaders, so those in the first few years of leadership, to established leaders, all the way up through execs and founders. And so with each level that we have a different skill set, but because so many people haven't had great leadership training, they've just had a workshop here or there or leadership training that's frankly extremely outdated, then we have to often go back and customize the training so that our clients get all the skills that they need to have to be at the level they are. Because that's one of the big reasons why people are burning out is they don't have that skill set. So that's what we do in a nutshell. But the thing that makes us extremely unique beyond just working with all levels of leaders is we were really looking at things beyond the surface. So we're not just saying, okay, maybe you need to work on communication skills or decision making. We're digging deeper into that. And we're using neuroscience and biometrics to really understand the person. So we use tools like the Aura Ring, and we use an assessment called Total Brain, and we're really measuring what's going on beneath the surface. So for example, with Aura, it's okay, hey, you were stressed between these hours yesterday. What was going on? And really starting to unpack of, you think it might have just been the meeting, but really what's underneath that is really you're getting triggered by people who, are very black and white thinkers or whatever that is. And so we're able to go in and really look at the core issues of the problem. Same with the total brain assessment. We're able to see things that were once unmeasurable, like how resilient are you? What's your stress control? What's your thinking like? Is it positive, negative? Like where are you on that scale? And so we're really able to, again, give them tools to solve those deeper problems. So when you ask about the ideal client, Our ideal client is a corporation who really sees the value in that and sees the problem that's happening with a lot of leaders burning out and is willing to take the time and obviously the financial investment to build their leaders from the ground up really well. Because what the research has found is that younger generations, so younger millennials, Gen Z, are really wanting to be developed. So many times people are like, oh, these people don't want to work and they don't have the skill set. It's like they want to be taught those things. And so as long as you're opening the opportunities to be taught those things, they're going to want to stick around.
Love that. That's pretty phenomenal. We're now in the trends are using a lot of actionable insights, not just the clinicians, but also leadership coaches like yourself, using a lot of the biometrics, a lot of like that bio data to really drive a lot of the decisions on how individuals can deal with burnout and how they can start to really just change their homeostasis and like those daily habits, sleep being one of those things. So that's really interesting to see. This is very scientifically driven form of customizing a lot of that coaching. So I want to hear a little bit more about really like the acquisition part of it. With your LinkedIn presence, really speaking at events, how are you currently acquiring clients? Are you relying on referrals, word of mouth, your network? Are you running any ads as well to get in front of some of the corporations that you ideally want to work with?
Yeah, so where we're at now is we've been in transition for the past few months of me being a solopreneur to be bringing on a bigger team and really scaling this. And so I feel like in the past 2 months, we've really gotten our grounding of what is this baby and what does it do and what makes it unique. And I've had a really great peer on my team, Dr. Lizette Warner, who's reflected back to me some of the stuff I've been doing for over a decade and saying to me, like, Lindsay, this is different. This is how this is, because you get in your own world and you're like, okay, I just do my own thing. So yeah, we're really at the point now where we're starting to network a lot more with different HR people who are change makers. So that could be in the C-suite, et cetera. And two, starting to use LinkedIn more and really starting to build systems of how we can market in a way that's scalable while also being, I always say non-spammy, but like authentic and warm because that's so much of who we are at TLC. Like given our name, right? We're authentic and we want to make sure that we're really touching people that not only are our ideal customers, but in a way that like feels good, right?
Yeah, so it feels authentic, feels as though you're genuinely providing them with a use case and some sort of value up front from what it sounds like, and not just cold outreach per se. Now, that's really cool. You mentioned a couple of things where you're looking at exploring ways you can start to market TLC in a way that's scalable. What are some of those strategies for the listeners who probably haven't done their research and they're also like looking at ways that they can start to create predictability and scale some of the ways in which they can get in front of their ICP? How are you looking into it right now? What are some of the strategies that you're looking to implement to accelerate the growth of TLC going into this year?
Yeah, so that's a great question, especially for my COO, Dr. Lizette Warner. She's the one that's all about the systems. But what we're looking at is obviously implementing Sales Navigator. We have a LinkedIn expert on our team, and then really starting to understand these different tech tools. One thing that's been big for us that's in the marketing realm is we've actually trained a private AI voice to be our, in essence, like CBO or Chief Brand Officer. And so we've done a lot of deep dive of who our brand is. And so we're making sure that our messaging is really strong and then training our admins to be able to use that AI voice and to start to generate content. Does that make sense? Because that was a big thing that would bottleneck me was like always having to create this message. So that's been really great and mind blowing. But yeah, we're really just starting to test out different systems in regards to reaching out to people and following up with people. Because I don't know about you, you go to networking events and then it's okay, I met 10 people and like, how do I keep this going without taking up too much time? Because how I used to operate was then, okay, let's go to coffee. And it's, I don't have time to go to coffee as much as I want to. It's just, let's just get this ball moving. And do you really want this service? And all of those things.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's a super important point that you brought up. You're pretty much like still in that solopreneur stage of running the business. And from what it sounds like, the main offerings right now, it is one-to-one. It is more customized for the client, right? You're spending a lot of time with each person. I want to learn a little bit more about many of our guests who have run very similar offers. They found it very tough to scale without burning out or sacrificing that quality, right? How have you thought about scaling your offerings going into this year as well, while still keeping it effective and manageable? Are you looking to bring in more team members on the fulfillment side? What are some of the ways that you're thinking about really ensuring that there is that predictability and that you can make sure that, hey, I'm offering that same level of service from when we first started as a company?
Yeah. So obviously our next hire would be somebody like head of sales to go out and do those outreaches. But what we've been really great at is all of our internal processes, and we've been hiring and training a team of coaches to really make sure that our clients are getting a great service, because that's something I've been really great at, is delivering really high results of what people are wanting and more, and to get that renewal rate. And that takes time to really train somebody on how to do that and give that personal touch. Because no matter how big we get, I want to make sure we have that personal touch, like a Four Seasons, that really high hospitality. So yeah, we're figuring out on the internal side, I feel, but the external side is really still a work in progress.
Got it. Yeah, I love the fact that you're really focusing on the client success side from what it looks like and really making sure that there is like that high touch when it comes to really working with clients that do come in and they are looking for a lot of what you offer and at a certain level as well. Now, you mentioned hiring a head of sales. I'd love to learn about your approach to sales. What are some of the strategies that have been really effective in converting some of the leads that come in into actual TLC clients? Right now, how does that all look like? Is it just yourself having these conversations, or do you have a team as well that's maybe involved in like the outreach, having those first initial touch points? How is all of that structured today?
Yeah, so the way that we're structuring it is our admin team has a first reach out, and then from there it goes to either me or Dr. Lizette Warner, who's the COO. And we're really trying to fine tune that intake process. Again, I've had a process that's worked really well for years, and it seems to continue to work in that intake process. But yeah, in regards to really getting those clients onboarded and all of that, I'm big about in sales of taking our coaching skills and applying that into sales, of just asking a lot of questions. What is it you're really wanting here, and getting deeper and deeper, and make sure that we're listening and truly giving the client what it is that they want, and not just pushing a sell to pushing a sell. And two, on our end, that's what makes our clients very successful and happy, is when they come in the door, we've already unpacked what it is they really need and want. And so we're able to fix oftentimes what they don't even think they think they need. So yeah, bottom line, we use a lot of coaching skills in that sales process.
Cool. Yeah. And that's really what it is presenting that value up front, really like finding out, hey, is there even something we can work with here, rather than pitching that solution to begin with. Yeah. So it seems like it's a lot more value based and a lot more just, hey, let's see if there is alignment right before we can even like work together. The growth has been incredible from what it sounds like, a 92% success rate on retention and really like client delivery. If you can share with the listeners like a bottleneck or challenge that stands out right now with really trying to scale, what would it be? Is it increasing brand awareness, looking at other ways that you can tap into other verticals? What are you most focused on solving to keep all of this momentum going?
Yeah, so I would say brand awareness comes to mind, because we are newer in that way, of just this kind of rebrand. And again, being reflected what I've been doing for the past decade in a way that I've just been doing on my own, of Lindsay, this is different. Like, we need to really showcase all of this and how you're using these metrics in this way. And two, I would just say when you're shifting and growing, it's just a lot to take in, like from a nervous system standpoint, and a lot to focus on. Okay, what's working, what's not working, getting rid of bad habits, bad in quotes, right? Or just habits that's not going to sustain you. So yeah, I just think it's just a lot to ebb and flex with overall.
Mm. Now, when you say bad habits, like I feel like we almost all have those commonalities as like coaches and consultants within the industry. Want to get a little bit vulnerable here. What do some of those things look like for you? And it's more so for the listeners that are also like, hey, is it just a me thing, or is someone else out there also going through those same challenges as they're finding their footing as well?
Yeah, so it goes back to what I said earlier of, oh, let's go to coffee. And I've liked a slow sales process in the past,
Yeah.
and doing it in a way of, oh, I'm your friend, and we're like building this warm relationship, which is beautiful and great. But again, I don't have time anymore for that long sales process and to be everyone's friend. I'm at a place too personally where it's like, I have my friends, and are we going to do business together or not? And so it's that piece. And I think part of that can be harder for women, generally speaking, because that's our natural way of being, right? Is to be warm and connection and all of those things, where men just get to the point a lot of times, like, do you want this or not? And so really balancing that and that process. And so I would just say on a bigger scale is to still keep that warmth and that authenticity and that connection, while, of course, like having that masculine or that sales element.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's almost one of those things where, as women leaders, there's that expectation that no, you have to be nurturing, you have to be patient. It's almost predisposed by the person on the other side, and they think, yeah, I can take up all the time in the world. I've personally noticed that difference just having conversations with a lot of individuals, and compared to like my male colleagues, it's like a lot more different. They can get away with being more direct and a lot
Yeah.
more, hey, let's get to the point. I'm sure that's part of what you're probably seeing with a lot of the clients you work with, especially like the women leaders in corporate, where they're seeing those differences and they're like, hey, why am I at a disadvantage?
But I'd also say as women too, with our cycles, like there are certain times of the month when we are like gung ho ready and certain times when we're not. And so it's this constant like push pull that I feel a lot of times of, yeah, let me go conquer the world. And then I have a week or so of, okay, I just need rest, where men
Right.
have the same cycle every single day. And so having to balance that while also wanting to be present for my kids. And I've built this beautiful personal life and trying to balance all of that because, again, Lindsay of the past would have just pushed to pedal to the metal and then burnt out. And so now I'm operating this new world of sustainable growth.
Yeah, having the right systems in place. If you have a good foundation, you have good people in your team, they'll execute on it for you, right? You're just painting the vision and like the direction for them to follow through on. And, creating those core values as well within your organization so that, the quality and where you started from, those roots, those don't fade over time as you
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
That, that's such an important part of it. Now, on that note, with everything you've accomplished, really, you've coached over 830 leaders, you've launched group programs, you're doing so much now with scaling on the marketing side. I'd love to learn about your vision for the future. What's top of mind for growing TLC over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so really it's nailing down these marketing systems because again, I think we've got some really great internal systems. We're training these coaches so well and so in depth, and we've got an amazing system for them to follow with our clients. And so it's really just focusing on how can we take that same magic and apply it to a marketing system now that I'm stepping out as, like you said, the executor and more of the visionary. So yeah, that's where it's at more and just getting more into the rooms of those that are really wanting something that's sustainable change and not just a quick fix. A lot of people where their mindset's still at is let's just do a workshop or let's just do a quick couple of sessions. And that's great and that gets the ball moving. But the research shows like we need long-term support for things to actually stick and we need to be teaching people before they're in a leadership position because then they're once they're in a leadership position there's so much on their plate it's harder for them to change just because of the bandwidth. And so it's like we've got to really train leaders 2 to 3 years before their first position. And that's again what the research shows. So yeah, I would see backing up of the overarching thing in that is just goes back to brand awareness and like teaching people what they don't know about the next phase of leadership development.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things, especially within leadership coaching, that's not discussed enough. It's like the amount of work that you have to do and almost like the prerequisites to becoming a leader before you can actually get in and be an executor and really take on the actual strategic role. Like you need to do a lot of that self-development, a lot of that self-work. And it's so cool though that you're not really going after those individuals necessarily that are like, hey, I need a leadership coach to help me because I just got a promotion. It's let me work with the corporations. Let me actually work with those businesses so that they have those fundamental values in place and they're not going to make that mistake of promoting someone who doesn't have those prerequisites. They're not ready to like become a leader yet. And that's where you see a lot of the frustrations that happen in the workplace because there's not someone strong enough to uphold the shift and like ship and make those decisions.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I want to get a bit hypothetical here because there's this passion for authentic leadership that you have. You had a genie in the room and you rubbed the lamp, and now all of a sudden you have all these unlimited resources that you're disposed to. What would you implement immediately to accelerate the growth of TLC today?
Oh, I would have a sales team for sure. Yeah, because I feel again operationally where we're at and the support and our coaches are amazing. Yeah, I would have a sales team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If only, and that's what's so great is outside of sales and marketing is like when you figure out your offer, if you have a really strong offer in place, then you can focus on, okay, how do we start to make this more reputable and like predictable and get this out there because it's authentic what we have, right? Oftentimes, I think, oftentimes founders like they have like really great sales and marketing in place. But then when it comes to the client delivery and the fulfillment and success side, that's where they see like those break even points happen as they start to like ramp up and get more and more clients, but we can't keep up with all of the demand.
Yeah.
Now, one more question before we hit the lightning round. How do you see the executive coaching industry evolving in the coming years, especially with a common topic being AI taking over the world, some of these virtual trends? How is TLC positioning itself for that type of future?
Yeah, so I've been playing with AI coaching a lot just on myself of, okay, how is it effective? Where are the holes? And I will say from a low level, and if you're just processing something that day, it can be very helpful, especially if you're training an AI voice to really mirror what it is that you're wanting. The holes that I'm seeing in it is it's still just not at the level yet to be smarter than a coach. Like even I've tried to program an AI voice with different assessments and to see if it can put it all together, and it still just is not quite there yet. It doesn't have that human touch. And I will say too, as a trained coach, we're really aware of where somebody's at in their bodies. And so we're watching for that on a session. And two, we're trained in a way of how to deliver information where it's going to hit versus being overwhelmed. And you probably played with AI. AI gives you a lot at one time to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know what to do with it. So it can open up awareness really well, but then you tend to need somebody to process with and take it forward. So all that to say, where I see AI with it is it's going to be helpful, at least where it is right now, for a supplement to coaching. And I think it can even be a great resource to somebody who can't be exposed to coaching and they're able to use that voice in a way to help them work through things. And again, it takes a level of self-awareness to know what is something that needs to stick and not. And that tends to take somebody who's been in coaching to find that. So it's that like chicken or the egg is like play with IA coaching first before you have a coach or not. And I think in a perfect world, you'd have a coach for a while. And then if you lose access to that, then you'd have the AI voice to supplement it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but I think that's so important to address because there's this hyper dependence now on AI across so many different verticals. Like everyone's using GPT for whatever it is that they're executing on, especially with source content and thought leadership online. There's almost the same thing over and over again now being there in terms of the value, the use cases, like some of those half-baked ideas, not customized enough. And we're losing that human touch. And I hope that doesn't dissipate even more as like more of AI starts to like evolve as like we see every day. There's always like some new feature, some sort of new application of it being out there. I love the fact that you're focused on that authenticity element, that the emotional intelligence of meeting with a human, meeting with someone face to face, right? Before you can even look at some of the other ways AI can create other ways for a solution awareness. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, what's like the best piece of advice you've received about scaling a coaching platform for the listeners, entrepreneurs, and founders that are looking to follow in your footsteps? What would you say to them, just on one parting note?
I would say there's a lot of crap out there, especially in the coaching industry, is, oh, you just do this and you're going to make millions of dollars and sip margaritas at the beach. And I fell for that for a while. And it's actually a very hard industry. And I think it's going to be harder and harder with so many people who are utilizing AI and or they're being laid off for AI. I guess Facebook just laid off of a couple 10,000 employees or something who they think will go into thought leadership now. So I think it's just going to be harder and harder to make a mark. But that to say is if you do deep inner work and you really know who you are and you're able to express that in ways that connect with other people, I think that's going to be the hot commodity in this AI world, especially is if you can make human connections with people, you are going to be like the top tier coach, thought leader, whatever it is, because you've built that skill.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And it's something that keeps coming up in the conversations, right? Is like you want to be uniquely disruptive within any industry you go into in the consulting or the coaching space. Don't lose that human touch. Don't lose your emotional intelligence and have that empathy as you connect with your prospects, you connect with people in your network, and you try and build a community and be very genuine about it, right? Focus on the use cases more than that transactional aspect of, okay, I just want to grow a business, because if that's the case, there's so many other businesses out there that you can go into. And the coaching and consulting space is not it if you're not genuinely there to serve and help someone.
Yeah, that's so true.
Absolutely. On that note, awesome. That wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Lindsay, your journey has been remarkable so far. Really, your own personal struggles with like corporate burnout. Now you're empowering so many women out there to like really become advocates and really rise up from some of those challenges. I'm incredibly impressed. I'm going to follow your story along going into 2025, achieving a remarkable success rate and across so many different verticals. You're really creating a revolution here within the leadership landscape. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find some more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class sales systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you all on the next one.